There is something so special and cozy about writing on a snowy day. It's actually turned into like a winter wonderland out there today, which is just gorgeous. And it's Monday morning, so that means I have been writing my Substack for the week. So I send out a free post every Monday, which I tend to write the Monday before, about all sorts of things to do with my life, slow living, books, nature, and this one actually about frugal living and what frugal living actually looks like, because I know at this time of year a lot of people are trying to maybe plan living a bit more frugally or maybe having like a low buy year for 2025. So I thought I would just sort of share my experience with it and sort of trying to demonstrate that it doesn't have to be really boring or really restrictive. It can actually bring a huge amount of joy. So I'll link my Substack down below. It's always linked if you guys want to sign up and get some of my writing, because like I say, this is my main priority for 2025, is to nurture my inner writer. I'm someone that likes to be productive. I do like to fill my days with lots of nourishing activities. I love my job. I am a full-time writer, content creator here in the Scottish Highlands, but I also try and live a slower, more mindful pace of life. So I thought that's the kind of thing we could maybe chat about over this vlog. I'm going to film like a few days this week, kind of typical week in my life in January. And I have changed up my routines a little bit. I tend to do this more on a seasonal basis, but I took, as you know, also regular viewers will know, I took all of December off posting, so I've been kind of getting back into a routine, and I spent a lot of December reflecting on how I work and just sort of my life generally and the balance there. I think it can be quite tricky to get, well, it definitely can be quite tricky to have like a work-life balance. I would probably say especially so if you are self-employed. And I always plan around the seasons because, to be honest, I'm planning around when it's light in terms of when I can go out with the dog on a walk, because I have to get out multiple times a day, otherwise I just don't function as a human. And I've actually found that I've done better splitting my work over a whole day. So I'm someone that definitely has more energy in the morning, and I used to sort of just start work and just keep going for as long as I could. So probably because it's quite deep work, I tend to do up till like 2 maybe, 8 till 2 perhaps. But that would mean that I'm really burnt out. So by the time I get to the afternoon, like 2 p.m, I don't feel like I could do anything more productive for work. I also feel like I'm not got any energy to maybe do any more creative hobbies like my junk journaling, anything like that. So I've been trialing like changing up my schedule. Obviously I've planned in my Notion, because I do sell this planner on my Etsy store. This is where I plan all of my life. So I thought I would share my kind of rough schedule in case you guys are interested how I'm like balancing my time. I'm an early bird. I still get up early in the winter. That's just naturally, now I've been doing it for so many years, and naturally wake up about 5:30. That first half an hour of the day is eating, because I always wake up hungry, and reading. That's how I love to start my day every day. And then from about 6 a.m. I've added in like a work block earlier in the day so I can spread it out. So between 6 and 7 I have my first work block. That tends to be editing, vlogs, that kind of thing, because I've tried writing at that time in the morning and it doesn't come out that great. Some mornings it does, so I leave it flexible. I essentially have the work blocks and then I can fill in what I need to do in that time. But yeah, at the moment that's sort of editing. And then between the next hour and a half to maybe even 2 hours, between 7 and 9, so I essentially do my workouts. I'm doing I'll link the app below, Grow with Anna. She's got a useful app for like doing HIIT workouts. Usually like a 30-minute workout, shower, get ready, take Sky out on her first walk of the day as it's just getting light. And then probably about 8:30 I tend up to be at my desk and doing my second work block of the day, and that tends to be my writing block, my main writing block, because it's when I think best. So I get up early, I have an early lunch, so I have about an hour maybe to take off for lunch, because I'll have it about 11 and then I'll take Sky out again, usually for just a short like midday refresh. We go out with a ball or something, and then after that I tend to fit in a lot of my filming in the afternoons now, just because it's so dark in the mornings. It's actually not too bad today. It's turned out being a bit brighter. It just takes ages to be okay to film in, and I feel like I'm a bit more awake by that point in the day as well, and that I can actually talk to a camera. And it's quite nice to have a break from the screen, so I tend to do filming bits and pieces, then maybe do a little bit of admin, and then I have like my last walk of the day with Sky is usually about between 2 and 3, and then when I come back I have time left over for either extra work or ideally some sort of hobby stuff. So before I start making dinner, essentially. My afternoons tend to be more flexible. I definitely am a bit more rigid about my time blocks in the morning, which is why I put like a lot of my most important things in then. And I've really enjoyed it. It's really working for me. I feel like I'm getting a lot done, but I'm just spreading it out, and I don't have to work too many hours in a day. You know, I'm usually only working maybe 5 to 6 hours, but I do make sure that all of those blocks are quite deep work, as opposed to, I think when I worked in an office especially, I would be sat there for hours but not achieving a huge amount, whereas now like I try and make sure I have as quiet an environment as possible, or at least wear my headphones and just sort of get on, get things done, and I find that really a fulfilling way of working as well. So I'm almost done with this Substack. I think I'm just going to do my last edits, read it through, and then I can schedule it, and then I think I'm just going to have to go out and play in the snow for a little while. It's Tuesday today and I've been working this morning. I've got into a really good creative flow, so I'm a little bit later for lunch, much to Sky's distress, because she knows that after lunch we go for another walk. But she's been very patient. I've given her a treat, so I'm just going to make some soup. Excuse my extremely squeaky door. That I made at the weekend, which is a potato and lentil, which I haven't made for a little while, but it's a really good one because it's really like budget friendly soup, obviously vegan and simple to make, and also quite filling. I think the combination of like the lentils, which are a great source of protein, vegan protein, and some potatoes just make it really like, yeah, really filling and yummy, particularly as it's another cold day. It's still snowing, or well, it's just stopped. It was light snow this morning, but yeah, it's definitely feeling very wintry. So I'll link this recipe down below. I always do a little bit of food prep, I've said that before, at the weekends, generally on a Sunday, if I can anyway, and at this time of year, a lot of the time it is soup, so I've got like, I think this will do me and my partner had some on Sunday, and then I think I can probably squeeze 2 portions out of this now, so it will have done me like 4 lunches, which is great. I could obviously make more and like freeze some of it. Sometimes I do that. Even just like 1 portion, it just can be very useful just to have like a portion of soup in the freezer that you can just defrost on your kind of like really busy days. During the summer, it tends to be more like, if you're following my channel for a while, you saw I went through a bit of a phase of doing like nourish bowls, particularly as I was growing my own salads. So I had like fresh salad leaves, and I would make like some great like bulgur wheat or quinoa, like a batch make that at the weekend, and marinate some tofu and do bits like that, so I could easily like pile my lunches, because like a lot of us, I don't have as much time, or at least I don't want to spend as much time making food in the middle of my day. I want to sort of get on with all the other things I want to be doing. So yeah, at the same time, it's so important to give yourself breaks and make yourself nourishing food. And for me, you know, the main reason I can kind of work as efficiently as I do, be productive, and still have time left over for, you know, more creative, mindful hobbies and activities is because I feed my body well and I prioritise that. Not perfect, never will be, and never pretend I will be perfect, but I do enjoy making a lot of my food from scratch and sticking to like really simple ingredients that are also budget friendly, which is another plus. But I'm getting quite hungry now, so I'm gonna warm up some of this with, I think I've got a little bit of sourdough bread left over with some toast, and enjoy my lunch. So it's Wednesday today, and I've just made myself a cup of tea. I've gone for one of the Pukka ones. It's the peppermint and licorice flavour, which I very much enjoy. I definitely consider this more of my winter tea. I think the peppermint with the licorice makes it like quite a subtle flavour. It's not too overwhelming. And I've just been doing a little bit of journaling this morning because, to be honest, I struggle to get my kind of creative juices flowing. I sometimes do get a bit of a dip like midweek, so I tend to, rather than try and push through, kind of take a break from like my laptop and screens, went out for a wee wander with Sky, and then thought I would just do a little bit of journaling. I think there's something quite nice about having like pen to paper, or in my case pencil to paper. I actually recently wrote about my journaling practice on my Substack because last year I really made an effort to incorporate more journaling in my life and sort of explore different techniques. So it's like written journaling, either like freely or using prompts. In the past I've tried like morning pages. That's something I've seen a lot of people do on the internet. I never really stuck with that one, to be honest. I've also shared my kind of scrapbooking junk journaling practice, and I was talking about how, as much as I think I explored lots of different methods last year, I have struggled to keep it consistent. But I think this year, like, I've got a different kind of approach, and a lot of it is just being very patient with myself, and I don't have to stick to a really strict regime. I can journal when I just feel inclined to do so, which it definitely already feels a lot better. In all honesty, ironically, I feel like I've journaled more now. I've switched to my mindset, so I think that's Substack below in case you're interested in reading about that. One of my main inspirations for journaling, and to be honest all my other creative work, is Skillshare. So I am delighted to be partnering again in this video. Over the festive period I had a little bit more time to revisit some of my favourite classes. That's one of the things I love the most about Skillshare, because it is an on-demand platform and the classes are split into like short stackable lessons. You can go back and either rewatch the entire class, which I sometimes do, or just go into the kind of lessons you really want to revisit and brush up on. So one of the classes I watched was Lorna Blakely's Memoir Journaling, Make Your Life Richer Through Stories. I've shared on this channel and on my Substack that memoirs are fast becoming one of my favourite genres to read, and I would definitely say they're my favourite non-fiction, and they're also a big inspiration for my own writing. I would probably class my Substack as kind of like memoir style writing, so I thought this would be a really fun one to dip back into, because I think I watched it originally probably a year or so ago, and I remember really enjoying it. So Lorna opens the class by giving a little bit of background on memoir journaling and how she's created that practice herself, and then she splits them up into different senses and using those as a prompt. So for instance, I redid the first one today. I chose sight, and we've still got some snow kicking around here, so that was the first thing I saw, so I thought I'd roll with it, and it was really nice because it started with just me describing the snow, and then it kind of brought up memories of when I lived in Abernethy Forest up here in the Highlands. When I first moved up here, it was me living in this random lodge in this forest for winter, and it's probably the most snow I still have ever seen and lived amongst, so I did a little bit of writing about that. So yeah, that felt like I really helped kickstart a bit of creativity, and it's a nice piece of writing that I can now have and maybe build on at a later point. This year Skillshare are inviting us to view our creativity as more of a practice that is worth prioritising as part of our well-being. Alongside journaling, this platform has thousands of different classes to offer across a range of different categories, including art and illustration, writing and publishing, personal development, and home and lifestyle. So if you would like to spend a bit more time nurturing your creativity this year, maybe even starting a new hobby or a side hustle, then the first 500 people to click the link in my description can get a 1 month free trial with Skillshare. If you do check it out, or if you already use Skillshare, please drop your class recommendations in the comments below, because I would love to read them. And thank you again Skillshare for sponsoring this week's video. So it's Thursday morning and I've come up to Inverness because I am seeing my friend this afternoon, and thought I would come up a couple of hours early so I can get some work done in a cafe. Do try and get out and work in a cafe about once a week. I think because I work from home, the majority of the time, it's really nice to have a little bit of variety, and I chatted a little bit about that in my New Year reset. One of my intentions is to kind of get out the house more, essentially. I think I worded it like have more adventures out of the house. Into a cafe maybe isn't that adventurous, but in my head this is kind of what I meant. I think a lot of the time it can be really easy if you're work from home, particularly if you're like self-employed and you set your own hours, just to get up and then just sort of get on with work. And a lot of time, I'm in quite stay-at-home kind of clothes. I'm a practical girl, so I'm often in a fleece and leggings, which is totally fine, but it's quite nice occasionally to like make a mild effort with my appearance and get out of the house. So I've come to Costa purely for ease. I do like to go to independent local cafes where I can, but in all honesty, the one I wanted to go to is actually shut until February. This time of year it's going to be quite tricky. A lot of our local kind of cafes and businesses are shut in January, and in all honesty sometimes I just need somewhere that I know I can get Wi-Fi, I know I'll get a table, and I'm not perfect, and I have I have had a few comments about how I shouldn't go to chain cafes and stuff, which I completely get. And you know, if I was just going to meet a friend or whatever, a lot of the time we do go to, you know, some of my favourite cafes that aren't chain cafes. But I also don't want to ever put on an appearance that I do things a certain way. You know, I'm not perfect. I go to chain cafes, I go to supermarkets, I buy plastic occasionally. Like that's my reality, and I like to be really real with you guys. So I thought that was worth saying, because inevitably I'll still get a comment about it, but I know I'm doing my best, and that's all that we can do. Plus I'm going to my favourite Costa, and if I can get my favourite seat, it is a really great place to work where I can concentrate really well. So fingers crossed it's not too busy. So I managed to get some decent work done in there. It was actually quite busy, which I was surprised on a Thursday, but I suppose it's quite cold and people are sheltering inside. But yeah, I managed to get about an hour and a half's work done, and then I just went into Dunelm because I have been not on the search, makes it sound like I've been really looking, but I've been sort of looking out, being aware that I'd quite like a lamp for the loft, because at the moment we just have like an overhead spotlight, which is fine, it serves the purpose, but it would be quite nice to have like a softer light for reading in the evenings and things. But I have to be really careful living in a tiny home with like clutter, so I was looking for one that's like really small, and I saw this one that I was eyeing up online originally in Dunelm. It's like this small, like mushroom shaped, but it's rechargeable, which I thought would be quite good, because obviously I don't want something that I'm always going to put batteries in, but at the same time I like that it won't always have to have a wire. We do have a plug there that it can plug into to charge, but I thought it was quite nifty, and it is quite small, so I'll have to try it. I did that. I ended up calling my partner, which I don't know why I did that. You should never do that, I think, asking a man about interior. No offence to men. I'm sure there are some wonderful interior-minded men out there, but my partner is not really one of them. And when I showed him this, at first he was like, oh, it looks like a mushroom. And I was like, oh yeah, that's the point. And then he was like, it also looks like an army helmet. And that's kind of all I can see now. So, I don't know. It's the perfect green though. We've got like a nice olive green, which really goes with our house. So I'm coming back up to Inverness next week, so I thought I might as well get it, try it. I also don't know if it's going to be enough light to rebuy. I don't want just a decorative lamp, like I need it to function. It says it's like a warm white and there's 3 brightness levels, but we can only try. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I bought something new for the tiny home. It's been, apart from probably the old mug, a really long time. I was also considering looking at cereal bowls, because we have 2 and both are quite significantly chipped now. I chip one and then my partner chipped the other, which is a shame because I do really like them, but it's one of those chips that it just keeps kind of getting worse. It's not like the ceramics really coming off it, so it's going to get to a point where they really do need replacing. But I'd quite like to find some in a charity shop. I'd quite like to thrift some. Let me know what you do. Because I know, like for instance for clothes I use Vinted, but outside of charity shops I don't have like somewhere I go necessarily for secondhand kitchenware interiors type stuff. So let me know if you've got any recommendations. It's not super urgent, and to be honest I was kind of spent at that point. I'd already spent, I don't know, 20 minutes in the lamp aisle looking at this lamp, so I was like, I have no more energy to make another very important decision. So I've got to head off to meet my friends soon, so I'm going to like wolf down my sandwich because I'm pretty hungry. And yeah, I'll let you know either later in this vlog or on a different vlog what my decision is on this lamp, because it's very, very serious, clearly. It's a staggeringly beautiful winter's day today. It's topped off, which has been such a glorious week of like winter weather. The sun is shining, the skies are like bright, bright blue, and the snow just looks absolutely stunning. So I thought it would warrant a bit of a longer walk this afternoon, as, like I said earlier, you know, I do use spending time in nature, walking, that kind of thing, to help me boost creativity, productivity, but I also use it as obviously like a really important form of self-care and a way of decompressing as well, and kind of switching my brain from work and stop obsessing over things and just sort of being a bit more present in the moment. And winter is one of my favourite times to go walking, although I was going to say it's quieter. I think there's a plane going over at the moment, so excuse that. It generally is quieter, as in like there's less people around, and you often see like a lot more wildlife at this time of year. I think part of that is due to the fact there is less people, but like I think when the trees are bare and stuff, it's much easier to see wildlife, and they tend to group together a lot more. Like birds will often flock together to like search out food sources and for warmth. So I've had some of my best wildlife encounters in the winter time. I actually had a really lovely view of a kingfisher the other day, and I've never been that close to one before. It was really only about 3 meters from me. We held eye contact what felt like a really long time, but in real life it was probably about 3 seconds. It felt very, very magical. And yeah, it's definitely, I know that a lot of us can feel like it's harder to get outside in the winter, and obviously it's not always like this. A lot of the time it's grey and raining, but I find it's even more important to get outside. I think when the days are shorter, we've got less light, like I just need to get out. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of my walk and make the most of the snow, because I think it's going to get a little bit warmer again for a while in a few days, and I don't want to miss a minute of it.